Hey everyone. Thought I would do a little impromptu live tonight, answer some of your questions. I got about an hour. For those of you who do not know me, I am Dr. Malea Jensen. I am a board certified family physician in Des Moines, Iowa. Welcome to Dr. J's Prescription for Health. Hi everybody. You guys are, wow, look at I'm live right now on YouTube and Instagram. So if you guys have questions, let me know. Let's bring it on. I've had quite a few questions today and from listeners. So if you don't have any questions, I got a lot to share with you. Okay. Frank from Florida, surviving little Debbie. Thank you for joining. I don't even know how bad Debbie is, but it is hot here. Let's see. Where are you guys listening from? What city, what state, what country? Let me know. Hi, Joe. Hi, Words, Herbs, and Willet, Valerie, Jill. Thank you for joining. Let's see here. Well, one of the questions that came in earlier, I will just go over that right now, is in regards to our creatinine. If you are, let's just say you're not on any particular diet and your doctor gets a creatinine level and it's elevated, you want to ask your doctor to get a cystatin C. A cystatin C will give you a little more information. It'll be more accurate. So if you are, and you're an exerciser or, you are on certain diets, the cystatin C will be much more accurate to determine, hey, do we need to look further into this? You also want to get a microalbumin. It's very important to get a urine microalbumin. That'll tell us a lot too. What we don't want to have is be spilling protein in our urine. That means our kidneys are not functioning very well, okay? So a lot of you are on carnivore and you're worried about your creatinine level, okay? And I want you to have your doctor get some extra tests. Hi, Scottsdale, Arizona. 109 today. Is that like real 109 and then a heat index? Because we have heat index in Iowa. So it was like 95 today, or maybe it's 93 right now, and we have a heat index of 105. So that is, for us, it's hot. But it's supposed to only be like 75 on Wednesday. So we have one more day of this. Okay, so hi, Azim. Thank you for joining over there on YouTube. I appreciate it. If you have any questions, we're just sharing some health information here tonight. I don't usually. Hi, Evie. Hi there, Azim. Yeah, I don't usually join on Sunday nights, but maybe we'll make it a regular. Smiley says, I had to retake a test because he said my creatinine was high. Then he said I may be dehydrated, but the other blood tests after weren't elevated. Okay, Smiley, that's a great point. So if we get, that's okay. I appreciate it. Did I miss one other one? No. Okay. So on your basic metabolic or a complete metabolic profile, you will see a BUN, a bun, and a creatinine. CR is the other. And in a generalization, if you have a BUN, divide by creatinine, if it's 20 or greater, there's a chance that you could be dehydrated. However, I don't leave much to chance on that, and I usually always get a cystatin C and a microalbumin. Okay, I just think that it's more accurate and you want to be for sure. Now, people who are on carnivore diets might initially see their creatinine go up, But these things level off. And if there's one diet that is good for your kidneys, it would be a carnivore diet. So it's insulin, it's blood sugar and insulin that actually cause problems in our kidneys. So does anybody have any questions on that? Nuts Rut says, I have frothy urine. I'm a little worried. I'm eating carnivore diet. Nuts, what is your specific gravity? Because there's a lot of stuff that can cause cloudy urine. And honestly, I know Dr. Barry always says this is, please check your stool. If you just got done cleaning your stool, it'll be the soap suds in your urine. So be conscientious of that. Yeah, the soap suds will mix with your urine and cause bubbles. But, I've also seen in people who are still eating some vegetables, and they'll have high oxalates, and that can show up in your urine as well. A lot of times the urine will show crystals. And if you have crystals, that needs to be looked into. Creatinine, yes, is up with carnivorous diet always. Yeah, it can be. I've not seen that always, glucopharin. I see quite a few patients, and I'm seeing that when I get a cystatin C, they're usually normal. Now, I think we need to have creatinines that are above 90 on the estimated GFR. So if you get a GFR, that's another way to indicate your kidney function is your GFR. And when you get a cystatin C, the GFR will actually be more accurate. So you want your estimated GFR to be above 90. So it'll be a little e, big G, F, big R, estimated GFR. Over on YouTube, they're asking me where I'm from. I am from Des Moines, Iowa. Thank you. I think that's a compliment over there, but okay. All right, you guys. Let's see if we have any other questions over here. So also on complete metabolic profile, I want you to be very aware of your calcium level, okay? If you have a calcium level that is above 10, now remember, when you think that you are looking at your normal ranges, it'll be on the right side of things usually. On the lab sheet, you'll have something that has what we call a reference range. Those are not normal ranges. That is a reference range. That is an average of the last labs that have come into that lab. It's an average of those blood draws. So that is not accurate. That's not optimal. Okay. So if you get a calcium level and it is above 10, please have that looked into. Okay. Ask your doctor to get a parathyroid hormone level, APTH. Okay. Something else on our complete metabolic profile. So you're going to get your electrolytes. So that'll include sodium, potassium, chloride, and you want to make sure those are in their reference range. And your doctor is really good about picking those out, but they're just not so good about looking at calcium levels. And I worry about that. Okay. We miss a lot of parathyroid abnormalities. And we got to ask ourselves, why is that calcium elevated in our bloodstream? Usually that is because it's leaching out of our bones and teeth and into the bloodstream. Okay. Glucopharin adds to what I just said. Estimated GFR is the right marker for it. I agree. So getting a cystatin C and getting a more accurate estimated GFR is what we want to look for. Getting a calcium level and making sure that it is not over 10. You got to ask yourselves, why would that calcium be elevated, and people who are eating very high oxalate containing foods, whether that be green leafy vegetables like spinach or nuts and beans, those sort of things will cause calcium to be leached out of our bone, because calcium needs to bind with the oxalates to get them out of our system. So you'll get calcium oxalate, you'll get magnesium oxalate, so you'll have depletion of magnesium as well. So this is very important that you are taking this all in and not looking at what I would consider a reference range instead of an optimal range, okay? So that's very important. Along with a complete metabolic profile, you should be getting an A1C. An A1C of less than 5, I mean, it should be less than 5.5, because 5.7, 5.8, 5.9, that is prediabetes, okay? Is there a time when that A1C can be falsely elevated? Absolutely. If your red blood cells live longer than 120 days, say they live 130 days, they have a higher chance of being glycated. That's what the A1C measures. It measures glycated hemoglobin. So if your red blood cells are lasting longer or living longer, then again, you have a chance that your A1C can be elevated. Carnivores see this a lot, okay? And they get kind of freaked out. But if you know by your insulin level, and you know by your triglyceride level and your HDL level, if you are metabolically fit, that A1C is likely falsely elevated, okay? Some of the other things that are on a complete, or besides a complete metabolic profile and A1C, you should all be getting a fasting insulin level. Hi, Cindy. Good to see you. Good to talk to you. Thank you for joining. So a fasting insulin level will give us a lot of information as well. A normal, hi S. Carter Fitness, thanks for joining. A fasting insulin level will tell us a lot about your metabolic health. The normal range should be within a 3 to 5 level. So a normal fasting insulin should be 3 to 5. If you are over this, you are considered insulin or hyperinsulinemic, which is which is insulin resistant. So you need to do some work on yourself. You have metabolic dysfunction. You are not metabolically healthy. You can also look at your triglyceride levels. A normal triglyceride level, when you get a lipid panel, is 70. A normal HDL level should be around 50 or 55. So you will also be able to determine your metabolic health by taking your triglyceride level divided by your HDL level, all right? And that number really should be less than 1.5, and even best to be less than 1. I have seen some very low triglyceride levels, like a 60 with a 65 or a 75 HDL. It's amazing. It really is. Hi, P-Dub. Thanks for joining. What is my take on a ketone breath analyzer? You know, to be perfectly honest, I think it's a waste of money. If you are truly following a ketovore, or carnivore diet, you will be in ketosis. I don't think there is a reason to measure your ketones. Now, if you guys want to just to see that, that's perfectly fine. I just think that spending your money on that, when you know if you're following a correct diet, then there's no reason. You will be in ketosis. You're going to have ketones. And you should be measuring your if you're measuring ketones, you should be measuring before your evening meal. That is the best time to have your ketones checked. You guys, I see that some of you have been asking or requesting to be in a live video, and my time tonight is a little shorter than usual, so I think I will keep it to just me. S. Carter Fitness. This is a really good question. S. Carter Fitness asks, I'm hoping I'm saying that right. What are your thoughts on utilizing metformin when trying to add muscle mass? I gotta eat carbs to grow for competition, correct? Not correct. If you are keto adapted and you are metabolically flexible, I guarantee you that you will be growing on a carnivore diet, because the more fat you have in your diet, the bigger you're going to grow. Okay. That is going to raise your testosterone level. I'm guessing you're a guy. But here's the thing on metformin. Metformin is toxic to our mitochondria. And trust me, you want healthy mitochondria. Your mitochondria are the powerhouses in your cells. They produce ATP. Metformin is a great medicine that acts for diabetics. It acts like muscle. It actually acts like muscle. How does it do that? It helps the muscle take up glucose. So I think that's where you're getting this, S. Carter. I think that's where you're getting those thought processes that if you had some metformin, it would help drive the glucose into the cells. I guarantee you, if that is your picture and that is actually you, you have enough muscle mass that it's going to take up the glucose if you're choosing to put glucose in your system. There is no reason to add metformin, which, by the way, is very toxic to our mitochondria. And seriously, you need those. So, and especially if you are exercising, exercise actually improves our mitochondria. Metformin, the opposite, a toxin. And if you don't believe me, you can ask Dr. Ben Bickman about this. He's talked a lot about the different medications and how they react in our body. And I would never put a chemical into my body. This is all up to you, okay? This is up to you. But I would never put a chemical. I would be eating all food, just food. I don't even think I would take supplements. Minus, I probably would take creatine. Creatine actually helps mitochondria health. So if there was one supplement, S. Carter, that's the one I would definitely be taking. That was a great question. I haven't had that question brought up before. And I have been a bodybuilder before in my earlier days. So I know exactly what your mind is thinking. I'm not sure. I'm speculating. Let's see if I missed any questions here. That was a good one. And I talked about the breath analyzer for the ketones. I don't think it's, in fact, people usually do it wrong. They will check themselves early in the morning and check for ketones. And everybody will be in ketosis in the morning when they wake up because they've been sleeping. And most likely people are, when they're sleeping, they're not eating. So they've been fasting for 8 or 10 hours. So you're going to have ketones. But that is kind of fake. It's not really an accurate way of determining whether you are in ketosis or not. Getting it right, so you've spent the whole day and getting a value right before you are going to eat your supper, that is the best time to get it. Okay? Good question. Husted, thanks for joining. Jamie, Susie, thank you guys for joining. Does anybody have any questions about Alzheimer's disease? That is something that has come up as well. Smiley says we get the best information. Sometimes we do. Let's talk a little bit about Alzheimer's real quick. A lot of you are fearful that Cindy, I'll get to that question after I talk about this one last thing here on Alzheimer's, because this was a question that came up. How should we move forward? How should we be tested if we have a family history of Alzheimer's? You can get what we call an ApoE. It is a blood test that can signify whether you have a genetic propensity toward Alzheimer's. Now, if you have the ApoE4 gene, please do not think that that is your fate, that you are going to have Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's needs to be fed. It is a metabolic disease. And so I think that you should worry less about your gene and more about your your metabolic health. Okay? Worry less about your gene and more about your metabolic health. If you have diabetes, your risk, especially with that gene, is very, very high. Very, very high. So it is in your best interest to become metabolically fit. How do we do that? Get your insulin level down. How do we do that? Stop the sugar, stop the carbohydrates. When carbohydrates are high, you will have higher insulin. Alzheimer's has been also called type 3 diabetes. And diabetes, as you know, is blood sugars, right? So do you have blood sugar on your brain causing your disease? Gene or not gene? You guys got to stop the carbohydrates, okay? Got to get that, got to get that insulin level down in the 3 to 5 range. Cindy asks, ApoE. Cindy, ApoE. A-P-O-E. ApoE. Okay, what was your question? What are my thoughts on 24, 36, 72-hour fasting? I think incorporating fasting for whatever time period that you do can be helpful for just your well-being. Fasting it helps a lot of things in our body. It's good for our cells, our mitochondria. It is good for getting our insulin levels down. It's really good spiritually, to be perfectly honest, when we fast, because you learn to deprive yourself. And today's world, we are living in prosperity and abundance, and we don't know how to deprive ourselves. We really don't. I don't think it's as much how long that we spend in a fast, but how we end it. So if you end it going hog wild and eating whatever because you've been fasting, thinking that that's yourself on the back, and you go out and you have burritos and cheeseburgers. No, I don't think then I don't know why you would have fasted, because the purpose of fasting is to get your body metabolically healthy. And then you go in and end a fast by eating a bunch of carbohydrates. I think that defeats the purpose. So ending your fast is more important than how long you go for your fast, okay? And I know that sounds, but if you are a carnivore or a keto or a ketovore and you start fasting, why would you add in more carbohydrates than you've already been eating in the first place? All right. Again, it's causing metabolic dysfunction, whatever you're putting in your body. If it's carbs, it's how you break your fast. Glucoferrin says obtain a ferritin level. I agree. And because I've been talking to glucoferrin a little more, I have been getting ferritin levels. And again, there's a lot of, like Dr. Berry, I believe, always checks ferritin levels as an inflammatory marker. I think your doctors should get in the habit of doing this. And I need to work on this because it's one that slips my mind. I'll get a SED rate and I'll get a high sensitive CRP, and I might even get an interleukin 6. And then for some reason, it slips my mind to get a ferritin level. And since this is glucoferin's specialty, he is asking us to talk to our doctors and get a ferritin level along with a TIBC, okay, total iron binding capacity, and as well as a transferrin and fasting insulin. And you're giving them a little bit of no higher than 5 on a fasting insulin. I totally agree. So if you really want to get a little more information and make sure that you do not have iron overload, okay, that is what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to avoid hemochromatosis. Let me make sure that Mr. Glucoferrin isn't giving me any more hints to this. Okay, no, I don't have any more. So hopefully I'm explaining this correctly. These are things that I'm just getting into checking. So I am not an expert, nor do I claim to be. By the way, I am not your doctor. This is not medical advice. This is YouTube and Instagram. This is for information purposes only, a little bit of entertainment, but again, this is not medical advice. We are just trying to help you here, giving you some information. The more information that you have, the better decisions you are able to make. So getting information is very important. Egyptian Bodies has joined us. Thank you. Shansherm. Let's see. Susie. Does cayenne powder and lemon juice break the fast, or ginger or turmeric? I think you have to decide for yourself what your fast is going to constitute and why you're doing it. If you are doing a spiritual fast, Susie, and you're doing this for other reasons, you have to, if you're fasting and you don't want any carbs, nothing, no food whatsoever, then those things, yes, that does break a fast. Okay, those are root plants, and yeah, I'd like to know why you're doing those things anyway. Nuts asks us, is it a bad idea to fast if trying to keep and build muscle? I don't believe so. I really don't. I think here and there doing a fast can be very healing for you, and it might make your muscles maybe even more receptive when you do go back to eating. Again, I don't think if I'm trying to grow, like, which I am, I'm not going to, me personally, I'm not going to fast 24 hours or especially more than 24 hours. One, I don't feel the greatest after 24 hours. I've done it. I truly want one of the greatest things, because this is me, and I'm sure Nuts is going to agree with me, that muscle is the organ of longevity, and I want to preserve it at all costs. Okay. And the way I do that is to keep my protein high and to keep my fat high. And I'm currently on a 2-to-1, two fat to 1 protein. So I could eat 300 grams of fat a day and 200 grams of protein a day, spaced out. I might eat one meal, and then it's not going to be so that high. It could be 250 and 150, but I try to get 1 to 2 meals of very high fat. That is going to supply enough fatty acids and enough ketones where I'm going to get my muscles fed. And I guarantee you, I have been growing over the past year. When I started noticing that things were going down, like I was starting to atrophy a little bit, I said, what is going on? I was counting, not counting everything, but in my head, I knew exactly what I was doing. And I say, after listening to a bunch of other docs and some other providers, I said, maybe my fat is not high enough. So I just went gung-ho on the fat, to the point you cannot get too much fat unless you eat so much fat you start getting diarrhea. Then you got to back off. Okay. So I eat up until that point, and I haven't even come close yet. Okay. And like probably yesterday and today, I probably had 300 grams of fat. Okay. And I really can tell the difference. My muscles, I'm leaner for one, and my muscles are much fuller. I'm bigger, and there's no carbs, so that I can't say, oh, it's from the carbs and the glycogen and all this and that. No, it's not. I don't have fat in my muscles. I do not look like a piece of Wagyu beef. Cindy says, did a 24-hour fast and ended with bone broth with chicken. Good. That's great. That's awesome. S. Carter, are berries okay? Are berries okay for you? You can do whatever you want. Would I eat a berry? No. I don't want anti-nutrients in me. If I was building muscle and I'm getting ready for a bodybuilding show, I would not put anti-nutrients in me. Anti-nutrients are things like phytic acid, which are phytates, and oxalates, and tannins. I don't want those things in my body. There's more anti-nutrients in fruit, even your berries, than there are of, what you would consider nutrients. So S. Carter, there is no essential carbohydrates, none, zero. They're not doing anything for you except for causing you to block the absorption of other nutrients. So say you eat your meat and you have a piece of ribeye and you have all these amino acids, you have all the vitamins and minerals that you need from the meat, and then you eat some berries, or then you eat some broccoli or spinach or something like that, and your steak turns in from a $25 ribeye to a $5 ribeye because you're not going to absorb those amino acids, because phytates and oxalates block your absorption of amino acids. Okay? They also block the absorption of your iron and your zinc and your magnesium and your calcium, any positively charged mineral ion. Okay? You're not going to absorb total. And you can say, well, I boiled my spinach. Okay, great. You'll increase the absorption a little bit more. But why would you even put them in your body? There's no nutritional value. No nutritional value. You might think there is, but the anti-nutrients are much greater than the... But again, you have to find this out for yourself, okay? Susie says, good information. I was wondering about that too. I'm not sure what you were wondering about. When you are writing to me, try to put as much information, because I can only see like three comments at a time. So if we were talking about something in previous, I can't really follow along with what is that. I was wondering about that too. So I apologize, but if you could just be a little more specific. S. Carter says, what is a typical meal you eat? So me personally, I eat 1 or 2 meals a day. It consists usually of a ruminant meat. I eat bison, buffalo, beef, venison, sheep, lamb. Those are what I would choose for a meat. Okay. And then I would have depending on how many meals I eat. Like today I had 2 meals. So I had a total of 10 eggs. I had 5 eggs for one meal and 5 eggs for the next. And I usually will split up. Will have a pound of meat a day. It's not usually more than that. It's about a pound of meat a day, along with 10 to 12 eggs. And then during my day and with my meals, I'm eating about a stick of butter, maybe a little more. So I try to get pasture raised eggs. I get grass fed, grass finished meat. And those are if I'm just eating one meal, so say I fast, so this is where my fasting comes in. I might eat just one meal to be at 6 p.m. And I will have 8 to 10 eggs and a pound of ground beef. It's sometimes a little hard, just depends on my day. It might be a little harder for me to eat all of that in one setting. I eat butter. I can eat the butter easily. So the fat I get in, it's sometimes that protein gets a little hard for me to get in. I just get full. And I know that I should quit, but I know the fat is the most important thing. I work on that first. Okay. And I get fatty cuts of meat too. It's like, if you look at 70-30, that is a perfect 2-to-1 ratio. Okay. Thank you, glucoferrin. Glucoferrin is asking, I don't know if it was Susie, somebody was talking about their turmeric and will it break a fast? And glucoferrin is adding in that in large amounts, it can cause anemia. So thank you. Again, turmeric is high in phytic acid, high in oxalates. It's going to block the absorption of iron. This is going to cause anemia. Okay. You're not going to get B vitamins absorbed either. So that leads to, like what I would consider a folate or a B12 deficiency. You have to look at your MCV, the mean corpuscular volume. It's on your CBC. Look at your the mean corpuscular volume, MCV. If it's greater than 80, you need to have your folate level checked. You need to have your B12 level. In fact, just get them in the first place. Have your doctor get a folate. Have your doctor get a B12. Have them get a vitamin D. You need to know these things, okay? Because if you're not eating any fat, I see vitamin D is low. Everyone's vitamin D is low. But that comes with the territory, because we've been told to eat a low-fat diet. We have been told that fat is bad for us and don't eat, especially saturated fat. Well, just to clue you in a little bit, Vitamins A, D, E, and K, they're fat soluble. They need fat in your body to be absorbed. And they scared us into this when they told us that when COVID was coming around 4 years ago, they said, oh, most people who are dying from that thing had low vitamin D levels, and they were obese, and they had diabetes, and the whole 9 yards. Again, one more reason to get metabolically fit, you guys. But sometimes we start worrying about the minutia, and we're not really looking at the big picture of metabolic health. And when if I want to just be perfectly honest with you, there's essential amino acids, there's essential fatty acids, but there are no essential carbohydrates. Zero, none. You can live without them forever. Okay? And if you want to look at every disease started because of insulin resistance and hyperinsulinemia. Okay? Things feed on blood sugar. Higher your blood sugar, the sicker you are. Okay? What if you don't process fat well? Or are you getting diarrhea? Is that what you mean? Because if you're getting diarrhea, then you back off on the fat. Susie says, when I try to get enough protein, I feel like it goes all to my belly. My belly is growing. Impossible. Your protein, all protein and fats are metabolized. All your amino acids, your proteins are broken down in the small intestine. They never get a chance to get to the large intestine. Now, if you tell me that you're adding in fiber, then I can see where your belly weight might be growing. Okay? But it's not from the protein. Here's another thing that you need to be aware of. What kind of protein are you getting? Because if you are taking in whey and casein protein powders, or in general dairy that's high in casein, like cottage cheese, your risk of having belching and bloating and all those things, you could be sensitive, not allergic, but sensitive to casein. Okay? And most people who are allergic to casein or sensitive to casein are also gluten and gliadin intolerant. Okay? Those are two proteins and grains that I would avoid at all costs as well. In fact, why would you even consider grains? There's no essential carbohydrates, right? Okay. Glucoferrin says spinach is non-heme iron. You can only get heme iron from one place, and that's animals, right? Glucoferrin. So just don't even go there with the vegetables or plants. Just get them out of your system. Cindy says, I do a 16 to 8 hour fast. I do that too. Sometimes, I bet 3 days a week, I will eat at 6 and 6 a.m., 6 p.m. Glucoferrin adds MCV thalassemia marker is very, very important. Is that for all, for everybody, or just for African Americans? I don't check thalassemia on everybody. Glucoferrin, talk to me here. Rami, thank you for joining. Cindy, yes, you're welcome. Bloom Dunn has joined us. Thank you. Glucoferrin adds in insulin resistance plus high ferritin equals, the thing, the virus. Okay. Insulin resistance leads to everything, but we should probably be checking a ferritin level, you guys. Try to convince your doctor. You're welcome, Susie. Everyone? Okay. All right. That's one thing I have rarely, if ever, checked. Greek people have thalassemia. Okay. I don't know very many Greek people. Hi, Terry. Thank you for joining. These are great questions. This is excellent. I love when we get talking and people are wanting to know more about their health. There's one other thing that is getting more and more popular, and that is adding a GLP into our medication regimen because we are overweight. And so we think that adding in a GLP like Ozempic, Trulicity, Wegovy, Mounjaro, one of those, okay? We think that would be an okay thing to do. But let me tell you some drawbacks to adding a GLP. if you have diabetes, we might be, I don't even want to give in on this, but adding a GLP causes you to eat less food, okay? It tells your brain that you're not hungry. It tells your stomach that it's full, okay? But the weight you're losing, you guys, is not fat weight. Think about this. These people who, and I see them every day, these people who are that are using a GLP are basically lowering the amount of calories they're putting into their body, but they're not changing the calories they're putting into their body. So they're continuing to eat carbohydrates. When carbohydrates are still, even if there's not very many, you were eating this many, now you're eating this many, they're still the same carbohydrates. They still cause a rise of blood sugar, and they still spike insulin. Insulin is causing you to remain fat, even though you don't have very many calories. Insulin pushes fat into a fat cell. It causes fat cells to be fatter, okay? In the meantime, because you are lowering your calories, you need energy somewhere. Somewhere you need the energy because you're not giving yourself any. Where's it going to get it from? Your muscles. So if you want your muscles to atrophy, go ahead and limit your calories, take the GLP, get your blood sugars under control, but you've just lost your organ of longevity, and I'm sad for you. Okay, I really am. So glucoferrin says GLPs cause severe sarcopenia. I will agree with that. Sarcopenia is basically atrophy of your muscle cells, okay? Your muscles will just shrink. And if you are 50, 60 years old, good luck trying to get that muscle mass back, because it took you your whole life to get that muscle and you let it disappear in about 6 months. This is bad news, you guys. And you'll have doctors that say, yeah, but the patient won't listen any other way, and I got to protect them from their diabetes. Did you ever, I will tell you, if I was in a game and I had to pick GLP or I had to pick a carnivore diet, you know who's going to be on my team? Carnivore all day long. GLP can't even hold a candle to carnivore. You want to lose weight? Carnivore. GLP can't even keep up. And you're putting a chemical in your body. Oh, you think it's a natural peptide made by a pharmaceutical company? I don't know if I would trust that. Okay? I don't know. S. Carter, you have high iron and low ferritin. I would ask if you are on any muscle enhancing medications. I would say that you should check your hemoglobin, and I would recommend that you dump blood. You might feel fine, but you do not want to have a blood clot. So I would probably check your hemoglobin, check your hematocrit, go to your local blood donor place and get your hemoglobin down to about 16.5, and I bet you will feel much, much better. Glucoferrin says 75 weight loss on GLP is muscle. Oh, 75%, I'm guessing. That's what you're trying to say. Yeah, it's a no-win situation. Glucoferrin also says carnivorous. Yes, strength, and yeah, I think I see a ribeye steak there. Yeah, TRT. Just keep donating then, S. Carter. You need to dump blood. Do not let that get, and just for you personally, you need to get your doctor to check a factor V and a prothrombin mutation. You cannot let these things go, because if you have factor V and or prothrombin mutation, your risk of having a blood clot is very, 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 very high. And you're on TRT, which causes thickening of your blood. Yeah, do not mess around with this stuff. Bodybuilders who are, I know that bodybuilders who have died. So please just donate every 2 to 3 months, and please get those things, get a factor V and a prothrombin level checked, okay? If you have those mutations, it's nothing to mess with. I would be very cautious with TRT if I had one or both of those things. Right, that's what I just said. Glucoferrin is also agreeing with me. High iron, low ferritin is from TRT 100%. Good. Okay. S. Carter, you got two docs here talking to you. So, and we're both in agreement. Those are good questions. Those are very good questions. Okay, so we talked a little bit about GLPs, talked a little bit about Alzheimer's. We've talked a little bit about protein and fat. We've talked about plants and high in oxalates, basically anti-nutrients, oxalates, phytates, and tannins. So I know some of you guys out there are probably thinking, and I can't read your mind or anything, but hi, C. Holmes. Whether or not fermented foods are in our best interest. I think if you want to eat fermented foods, is that going to be less phytates, oxalates, and the tannins? Yes. But again, I don't see a reason to put that stuff in. I actually used to drink a lot of kefir, however you want to say it. I've kind of stopped doing that. When I first started carnivore, I actually did kefir. And it helped. It helped my bowels get more organized, because when you go from, and I wasn't a bad eater, but I did eat vegetables. I ate vegetables with my beef and everything. So I ate nuts, I ate vegetables, and all of those things had the phytates and the oxalates. So when I was getting off of that stuff, I did do kefir, and kefir did help to improve my bowels a little quicker than had I just let the carnivore heal it on its own. So glucoferrin says TRT, severe hair loss in males. Yeah, because you're getting DHT. Exactly. But those are, people who do TRT are well aware of the side effects. We're not telling you anything that you don't already know. Yes, you can lose your hair, but most guys, and they would rather have more muscle than hair on their head. They don't care. Thanks for adding that in, glucoferrin, but the guys that I take care of and have been around all of my bodybuilding career, a lot of them don't care about their hair. They want muscles and more muscles. The Life of Loki, thank you for joining. Maria Price, thank you for joining. So I was just doing a review. Hi, Chris. I was just doing a review for everyone, what we've gone over so far. Do you guys have any questions, any medical questions? You want to talk about your LDL, your cholesterol? Because that seems like it's a hot topic right now. I mean, there's a lot of haters online when you start talking about cholesterol. Who would have thought they would be so triggered by your carnivore diet? So let's say, okay, glucoferrin, I hear what you're saying. I really do. The Life of Loki asks us, any advice on Hashimoto's? Why do you have Hashimoto's? Hashimoto's is an autoimmune disorder. It is antibodies against your thyroid. Okay? You can heal a lot of autoimmune diseases by simply going carnivore, believe it or not. Okay? So, Hashimoto's, I would go carnivore. Check your antibodies, check them baseline, do a 60 to 90 days of carnivore, and then recheck your antibodies and see where they're at. I guarantee you, well, I don't want to guarantee, but I guarantee you they're going to be lower. You'll be able to take less medicine or no medicine with Hashimoto's. Hashimoto's is very hard to treat. You just giving synthetic synthroid, levothyroxine is not in your best interest, Hashimoto. So I would ask your doctor to give you NP thyroid or Armour or WP thyroid, but taking synthetic T4 is not in your best interest, because there's other things that are going on with just taking T4. What if your T4 is not converting to T3 in the periphery? What if it's causing more reverse T3 to be built up? Your doctor could be just, I don't know, I'm just speculating. But most doctors do not check a full thyroid panel. They don't get reverse T3s. They don't get free T3, free T4, total T3, total T4. They don't get it. So how are they going to treat your Hashimoto's? Are they just treating the number like, oh, let's get a TSH and make sure it's in the reference range? But how do you feel? I mean, most people with Hashimoto's feel horrible still. They're still tired and fatigued, and their skin is dry, and they got constipation. They got the whole 9 yards. S. Carter says, is total cholesterol bullshit? Is that what you're saying? I don't cuss, but we'll just call it BS. But I just wanted to state for the record, I'm guessing that's what you mean. Yes, total cholesterol is something that means really nothing. You know, back in the day when I first started, the normal cholesterol was about 220. And today we want you to be like less than 200. But really the total cholesterol that's normal is about 220. It was 50 years ago and it is today. So getting a total cholesterol really means nothing. But if you want to check your lipid panel, you want to get a triglyceride level and an HDL level and an LDL level. By the way, LDL is a calculated value. It is not, unless you get a direct LDL or an ApoB, you don't know what your LDL actually is, okay? And why should it matter? Why are we putting this whole diet heart hypothesis, why are we giving it any credence? If you know your triglyceride level and you know your HDL level and you're fasting insulin, and your A1C and maybe a high sensitive CRP, you have a pretty good indication of your risks for getting a heart attack. The most common cause of heart attack, heart disease, if you want to know the highest risk factor for heart disease, it's diabetes. If you improve your diabetes, your risk of getting heart attack is much, much lower. Diabetics have very high risk of having a heart attack, okay? You need to get yourself metabolically fit. Your insulin level should be 3 to 5. Your triglyceride level should be 70 or less. Your HDL should be 60 or more, okay? If a doctor tells you your LDL is 130 and you need to be on a statin, ask them why. LDL is not a type of cholesterol, even though they say LDL is your bad cholesterol and HDL is your good cholesterol. No, LDL is a particle that carries cholesterol. LDL carries cholesterol. If you lower your LDL too much, Mr. S. Carter, I guarantee you your testosterone level will go down. You need cholesterol as the backbone of our sex hormones. Okay? And you also need cholesterol for vitamin D production. So a lot of things need cholesterol. Your brain needs cholesterol. Tell me you're a smart person when you start going carnivore. How much does your brain love you? SG Ryder says, I have a concern about being strict carnivore in my late 60s and effects of a high protein diet on my kidneys. Thoughts? I have no thoughts on that. Why would you be concerned? Actually, a carnivore diet is good for your kidneys. It's sugar that's bad for your kidneys. It's plants that are bad for your kidneys. It's fruit that's bad for your kidneys. You are losing your 60s, you're losing your bone strength. You are losing your protein. So bones, mostly protein and some calcium, not all calcium and some protein, mostly protein. So if you are not feeding your bones any protein, they're going to get brittle. If you are feeding it plants and berries, you are going to leach out the calcium from your bones and cause them to be brittle. Oh, you got a bone density scan? It was fine. Does that mean density equals strength? No. Bone density scans don't tell us anything. Now, if I pushed you off a curb and you landed and on your wrist and didn't break it, yeah, you have strong bones. If you broke it, yeah, you have weak bones. Bone density scan does not tell you about your strength of your bones. It tells you density. Density does not equal strength. Okay, you can have a dense muscle and it's not very strong. The Life of Loki says, I hate levothyroxine. I kind of do too. It's synthetic. Nutruts says, my cholesterol's high. What's high? And I mean high. What's high? But my calcium score came back 0 and I have low triglycerides. I refused a statin. Good for you. The calcium score is a very good screening tool. And since yours is 0, the chances of you having high risk coronary artery disease is pretty small. But remember, a calcium scoring test determines calcification, plaquing. That's called a hard plaque. Could you have a 0 calcium score and still have soft plaque building up in your arteries? Yes. One more reason to be metabolically fit. You're telling me that your triglyceride levels are low. I'm guessing when I say low, that's 60 or 70. Okay. And your HDL is that same value as well, 60 or 70. So your triglyceride divided by HDL ratio is 1 or less, right? Then you get a high sensitive CRP and it's less than 1. I would be very confident in your decision not to take a statin. What are the risk factors of taking a statin? Have you asked yourself that? Glucoferrin says TRT always increases LDL. That's how they build the muscle. Glucoferrin, I have seen my guys with normal LDLs. It doesn't, on some of my guys, TRT does not affect their LDLs. It almost always, if not always, lowers their HDL. So I think it's a false elevation, if anything, but not all of my TRT guys are having an LDL increase, okay? Most of them are getting an HDL decrease. We have to ask ourselves, if the LDL is actually going up, it's most likely because if these guys are on a carnivore diet, their small, dense LDLs are actually going down and their light and fluffy LDLs, because their carrying capacity of cholesterol is taking it back and forth from the liver, okay? So when we eat a carnivore diet and LDL goes up, it's usually the light and fluffy guys, and the small, dense guys are going down. If we're eating a high carb standard American diet, the small, dense LDLs are increasing. So if your LDL is going up, that's from the small, dense LDLs. Or if your LDL is staying same and you happen to get a particle size and you have high LDLs, those small, dense LDLs are from your carbohydrates, not from your saturated fat. Small, dense LDLs is a result of carbohydrates, high glucose, high insulin, small, dense LDLs. Small, dense LDLs are the guys that go into our arteries. You know, they're small, they're very dense, and they get stuck in the artery walls, right? But somewhere has to be an injury. Small, dense LDLs just don't go into the arteries. There has to be a door. There has to be an injury for them to attract to. Metabolic fitness. We need to be metabolically healthy. Something caused that injury, and the most likely cause was glucose. Glucose caused the injury. It's toxic to our endothelium. It's like pouring acid in your arteries. Okay? LDL is not the cause of your plaquing. Glucoferrin says in Europe, total cholesterol is still normal up to 300. There's Rogers. Thanks for joining. Jen Rose, thank you. S. Carter, did I answer your question on calcium scoring? 59K Warren, thanks for joining. Is crumble keto? Is crumble keto? I don't know what's crumble. Glucoferrin adds bones, osteoblasts, and osteoclasts are collagen type 1 made of 2,000 amino acids. Okay. Do you want me to add to this glucoferrin? Because bones, osteoblasts build our bones. Osteoclasts break down our bones. Our bones are made up of proteins, amino acids. Proteins in our bones. One of them is collagen. Just like in our skin, we have collagen. So you have types 1, types 3, type 4, type 5, right? Glucoferrin. And so certain ones are found in our skin, certain ones are found in our bones, certain ones are found, okay? So yes, maybe you want one, types 1, 3, 5, you want those in your body. I've given up on all supplements, to be perfectly honest. I just, just get the collagen, eat the gritty stuff on your beef. If you're eating chicken or turkey or something like that, chew the collagen off of the bones. That's the best kind of collagen from the animals themselves. And your eggs, especially if you're good, this is the easiest way to get the collagen out of the eggs. When you boil the eggs and you crack them and you're peeling them, all that paper thin stuff that you peel it off and throw it away, yeah, that's all the collagen. You need that. Okay, collagen is very good for us. I just don't think that we should be buying collagen supplements. S. Carter says calcium score is 400 plus. Doc put you on Crestor and Zetia. Okay. Did you get a CT angiogram? I mean, S. Carter, no matter if you're a bodybuilder or not, I am guessing that you were eating a diet very, very high in carbohydrates. That is what's all those decades of eating carbohydrates has caused your problem. They caused an injury in your endothelium, and now you have plaquing. Now, you could, this day forward, go to a carnivore diet, and then you get rid of all the glucose. You've lowered your insulin. Your triglycerides are now 70. Your HDL is now 70. And in 1 year, you recheck that calcium score. If it's still 400, it's stable. It's a stable plaque. Do not go back to your old ways with your diet. You might want to get a CT angiogram. That'll determine if you got soft plaque. Okay? That's just another screening tool that's a little more invasive because it requires dye. And then if you go to your cardiologist and you say, I want an angiogram, that's even more invasive. But an angiogram just tells the lumen size. It'll tell you if your stenotic, narrowed. You're supposed to be like this lumen, and you're like this lumen. Okay? The angiogram, you cannot see plaquing on an angiogram. You can see lumen size. So there's a huge difference. So if you have a plaque in there and it's closing down the lumen, it'll tell you a percentage. Oh, you have 50% stenosis, or you have less than 29% stenosis. That's okay. But they can't see the plaque, only the lumen size on an angiogram. You know, where they go in through your wrist or your groin. They cannot see plaque. You can see calcified plaque on a calcium scoring test. You can see soft plaque on a CT angiogram. Does that make sense, you guys? You need more than, you need, S. Carter, you need more information before you decide whether or not. And honestly, if I had that score and I was eating carbs, there would be no doubt in my mind that I would stop that immediately. Does comfrey herb work for mending bones and tendons? I don't know. Scott, I'm sorry, but I do not know the answer to that because I am not familiar with that herb. Glucoferrin says LDL is the carrier of HDL. You are right. Well, thank you. LDL is the carrier of all of our cholesterol. It takes it back and forth to, carries triglycerides. It carries everything back and forth to our liver. Saturated fats are important for bile production that reduces atherosclerosis. Agree. And here's another thing. Let's talk about gallbladder just for a second. A lot of you people will say, I have gallbladder problems. I have a gallbladder disease. Well, in order for your gallbladder to be bigger, faster, stronger, muscular, the whole good gallbladder, he needs fat. It's like when you go to the gym and you pick up weights to exercise your muscles, gallbladder, needs fat to exercise his muscle. So if you have been doing a fat-free diet because you've been told by the experts that fat is bad for you and you have lowered your fat content, guess what? Your gallbladder becomes weak and flaccid. He's floppy. And you know what's building up in there? The bile. It turns to sludge and even worse, gallstones. Then if you just go out to eat one day and you think, I'm just going to eat the fattiest whatever, and your gallbladder starts to work and it starts to press against sludge and gallstones, you're going to be in the emergency room. And then you're going to get an emergency gallbladder removal, a cholecystectomy, all because you were eating a fat-free diet. Your gallbladder got weak, bile built up and sludge. Remember, the gallbladder is a storage of bile. It doesn't produce bile. It's a storage. And so now you're going to go to the ER and your little surgeon friend is going to take your gallbladder out, all because you were on a low-fat diet and you decided to go out and splurge. Okay? Your gallbladder needs fat to work its muscles. Got it? All right. Glucoferrin, thank you for that. Collagen supplements are not good at all. So you're agreeing with me. Okay. S. Carter, I will do that. Okay, thanks. You're welcome. Can cirrhosis of the liver be reversed? Oh, Susie, that is a great question. Some doctors would say no. Some doctors would say yes. Cirrhosis of the liver is very, very bad fibrosis, very, very bad hardening of your liver. Why do we get hardening of our liver? Because we have fatty liver disease. Where do we get fatty liver disease? High insulin, high carbs, high glucose, high insulin makes fatty liver disease. Organ fats are very, very bad for us, okay? It's like fat wrapped around our liver like a blanket, smothering it, strangling it, okay? And that's not good for our liver. And so over time, where the liver was nice and muscular and soft, he becomes fibrotic. He becomes hard. And so we get a fibro scan on you. Oh yeah, you got fibrosis. Okay. And then you got fibrosis, then you get cirrhosis, and then you got, well, worst case scenario, you got liver failure or liver cancer or both. So cirrhosis, is it possible? A part of me thinks yes. If I can reverse my metabolic dysfunction, I think our liver can recover. Okay? So get rid of the carbs. Scott says it's more known as a knit bone. I'm not sure what we're talking about. What else? Did I miss anything here? Okay, it doesn't look like there's any more questions that I'm seeing. And we've been talking for about an hour and 10 minutes. So I will, comfy herb. I'm not familiar with it, Scott. I'm sorry. I just don't know. But it's not, I can look into it. Okay. Yeah, comfy herb. Yep. Yeah, I'm just not sure. Kathy, bigger disease. Okay. Glucoferrin says diabetes is the very first side effect is liver cholestasis that causes obstruction of the bile duct. That will result in malabsorption of calcium, vitamin K, and B vitamins. Gallbladder problem is diabetes. Yeah, I agree. You're just going into a little further details metabolically, but the general process of insulin is to make things grow, and it loves to make fat cells grow fatter. Okay. It loves to make the liver fat, the pancreas fat, the kidneys fat. If you got one fatty organ, you have probably many fatty organs. And that is indicative. If you see, especially men, and I've seen women, I mean, it's just, I can spot diabetes from a mile away. And if they don't have diabetes yet, they're so hyperinsulinemic that it's unbelievable. I mean, you're talking an insulin level in the 60s. But that big, what we call a beer belly, that is basically visceral fat poking out at you, okay? They say, I don't eat very much. Well, yeah, you don't eat very much. All of your fat, all of your insulin is making your liver fat, and all of that is growing. Okay. You are hyperinsulinemic. You are at very high risk of a heart attack. Very high risk. I can say it no other way. But you know what the beauty of exercise is? Exercise will burn visceral fat faster than it'll burn subcutaneous fat. So subcutaneous fat is the fat that's right underneath your skin, like in the back of your arms, or the loose jiggly fat. But if you poke somebody in the belly and it's like hard and you can bounce a quarter off of it, guaranteed they got visceral fat. Okay, they got a little love handle on the back, visceral fat. Glucoferrin says I could spot I'm guessing diabetes from 2 miles away just to make you smile. I know. I seriously can spot it. And then I especially will look at, so they got the hard fat on their belly, and then especially in women, you'll look below their waist and their calves are like humongous drumsticks, weak as can be, big as can be. Remember, we go back to that density strength thing? Yeah, so weak. And their muscles, you just know their body is so metabolically unfit. Unbelievable. But yeah, that's our details. I can spot it a mile away. Now, if you're somebody and you got jiggly fat and roly-poly fat, in all reality, I don't want to tell you to keep that fat, but you're safer than having visceral fat, okay? Your chances of having heart attacks are less than a person who has visceral fat. Yeah, I knew what you meant. Oop. Cancel. Okay. All right. I have one more question here. Do you know anything about golden seal herb, and is it good for sinuses and help against nasal polyps? Okay. Again, polyps are a sign of inflammation. Why is your body inflamed? Why are you adding an herb or a chemical or a medicine or a something when you need to take stuff away? You need to be taking stuff away that's causing the polyps, that's causing the inflammation. Why are we trying to always mask a problem of our worldly modern diet? So I was into this too. You watch all these alternative things and naturalists and all of these things, and they say, oh, well, for post-nasal drainage, take a little bit of iodine and mix it with blah, 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 whatever, okay? What is causing the post-nasal drainage, the runny nose and the post-nasal drainage in the first place? Something you're eating. Take it away before you mask it with something else. Does that make sense, nuts? I hope it does. You do not have a deficiency of golden seal herb. You have an abundance of crapola in your diet, I'm guessing. I'm hoping that was you throwing the heart at me because I don't want to upset you. I just want you to think logically. We need to ingest less stuff that they're selling to us and save our money for beautiful ribeyes and T-bones and New York strips and eggs that have beautiful amounts of choline and just make our bodies shine. One person over here on YouTube says, you're shining like a glow bulb. Well, yeah, I take very good care of my skin or want to. And yeah, that is, glowing is actually a good sign. So anyway. Janie says, sorry for the dumb question, but isn't visceral fat underneath subcutaneous fat if around organs? No, subcutaneous fat is underneath your skin. Under, cutaneous, right under. So you go, it goes skin, then subcutaneous, then dermal, or is one of the, I can't remember the progression, but visceral is your organs. And so you got the organ, the liver inside, and the fat is wrapped around the organ. Subcutaneous fat is safer than visceral fat. Porsche says, great truth, cause and effect. Yes. Yeah. Okay. I think that's it, you guys. I am going to call it good. Yesterday, I did like 3 hours on Instagram and Facebook. People had so many questions. It's great. I mean, it was like, wow. But we'll do this more. Susie, you're very welcome. I appreciate it. If you guys want to, you know, if you want to help me out, if you want to help yourself out, I go over people's lab tests with them. You're very welcome, Keto, Chris. You can consult with me. It's right around between $65 and $90. You can call my office. The number is, well, that's not going to work. The number is 515-267-1961. So 515-267-1961. And you can make an appointment with my nurse. We can go over your labs. If you're not getting the information you need from your doctor, it doesn't hurt to get a second pair of eyes on some things just for a once through, right? And then you can take back some more information to your doctor if you have other things to ask. But getting some education doesn't hurt, okay? Wisdom is powerful. And so the more information you have, the better. So that's an option. If you want to subscribe to my channels, I think it's, $2.99 or $2.99 a month. You get some extra time with me, whether it be at being able to ask me questions or just getting some extra videos or extra information inside the channels. I'm on YouTube at Iron Lady Doc, Malea Jensen. Obviously on Instagram at Iron Lady Doc, and on Facebook, I'm Center Stage Primary Care. Center Stage Primary Care. All right. So those are just some ways that you can help support and keep me going and doing this. Because all the doctors that you're listening to, we're doing it for free. We want to help you, believe it or not. But we also need to make a living. And I think we need to do it in a way that's for the glory of God and not for the glory of us. I'm going to end it right there because I want to be able to do things for God's glory, not my glory. And he's the one that's blessed me with all this information, and I'm just sharing it with you. If I'm wrong, if my information is wrong, I want to be the first one to admit it to you that I'm sorry for giving you false information. But right now, I believe in my heart that this is the truth, what I've been sharing with you today. And, I've been on the opposite side of the spectrum. I used to be the pusher of LD, for statins, for LDL, and taking all the diabetic medications, and not really, I knew that your diet was bad, but I did not take the time to tell you just how bad it is and what you're doing to yourself. So I take full responsibility for the doctor I used to be, and I'm also taking full responsibility for the doctor I am right now. So, okay, I think that's it. Porsche says they all look good, but he commented on my cholesterol total 240. Oh boy. Right. Okay. Most doctors, Porsche says that his doctor is not a carnivore doctor. I need to review your last slide. Just give us a call, 515-267-1961. Tell Denise you just want to make an online, like a Zoom call, and we'll go over all your labs. You'll just email me your labs, and then when we meet, we'll just go over line by line, and we'll figure it all out together. Okay? All right. Chris, hi, Chris. We're just actually about ending here, but thank you for joining. Nuts says, thank you so much for your great advice. You're very welcome. You are very welcome. We'll come back. I am live every Saturday at 9 a.m. Central on Instagram and Facebook, and usually Sundays on YouTube. And I try to do an evening time, and I really got to narrow down a time where I can be more consistent on YouTube. But whenever I'm on YouTube, I'm always on Instagram. So you guys are kind of getting double duty if you're on Instagram, because I have a lot more people following on Instagram, and they're very engaged. And that's where I feel led to help people is Instagram. I am sure that Facebook and YouTube will start flowing. But for right now, Instagram's where it's at. Again, this is not medical advice, not medical advice. I am not your doctor. This is for information and entertainment purposes only. So I hope all of you have a good rest of your Sunday night. I'm going to be hitting the bed soon. I'm very tired and I get up early. I go to bed early, get up early. Okay. So God bless all of you. And we will talk to you next Saturday. Catch my reels every day. I do a reel, except for today I did not do a reel. I thought I would go live instead. Every day, most every day, live reels. Not live reels. Well, they're live for me. They're not live for you. You're catching them after the fact. Okay. I'm going to stop talking. You guys, see ya.